as you rightly said, yourself, Daniel, really anybody at the club, as soon as almost promotion was secured, you went into this next challenge with your eyes wide open, talking about the Everest analogy. But now you're, 6, 7, 8, 9 months down the track. How have you found the challenge? Is there anything at all that surprised you on or off the park about the Premier League?
Probably the biggest surprise has been the intensity of interest from the outside. No disrespect when we're in the Championship. Media-wise, it's the local guys. Pretty much every week, the National don't care. They don't talk about us. It's funny now watching the Championship and watching clubs and stuff. It's like actually no one really sort of cares until you get right towards the line at the end. Whereas the Premier League, everybody cares. When you're playing Liverpool at home, every TV station's there. Everyone wants a piece of it. Everyone wants a piece of your players. Everyone wants a piece of your staff, and that's been much more bigger than I thought. The ruthlessness of the Premier League is frightening in terms of, I don't believe we're the worst team in the league. I don't believe that, but we're certainly not ruthless enough. If you look at what clubs do, when other clubs get chances against us, they score. Crystal Palace have one chance to score, they get a point. Crystal Palace away, 2 chances to score. They don't mess around. Whereas we make a mistake, we get punished, and if we don't take our big chances, it really sort of hurts us. So I think that ruthless nature of it. I think early doors, the players dealing with the physical change of it in terms of the intensity. So yes, it's less games, but it's definitely more intense. But then also dealing with everything which comes with being a Premier League player. They suddenly are famous. They are suddenly earning more money than they have before, and that takes time to adapt to. And I think they've come out of that better people and better players at the other end. But there's been times in the season where that's been difficult because the ego takes over, and maybe the friends and family around some of these people are constantly telling them that it's not your fault, you're bottom of the league, it's someone else's fault, and it's like, no, take responsibility. So yeah, it's been a big eye opener. Would I do things differently again? Certain bits, yeah. Definitely made some mistakes. Certainly have some regrets. You can't have regrets, but I've made some mistakes where I think, we weren't well enough prepared for that. But then on the flip side, I look at it and go, well, through this experience, the players have grown, the staff have grown, we've paid off a training ground, we've cleared what would have been a black hole, which would have had to have been filled by a player sale. We've shown that we can compete at this level in terms of our style of football. Yes, we need to be better, even more at it, and we need to have better players potentially in it. But, we've proven that we can come and compete at this level. So I think it's been, I've learned on a personal level a lot. I think we all have. And I'm sure there'll be more learnings now because we're now coming into the crunch time, the final 12 games where, people's nerves come and go. We had it last season, we went on a run. I think we lost one of our last 16, 17 games or something, when the pressure was really on, and Leeds and Sheffield United dropped points. So maybe can it work this time that, we play, and when the pressure comes on, we can stand up and be a bit more counted, and maybe the ones, it's a different challenge, but the ones above us, maybe they start looking over and panicking a little bit. So I think, I think it's still going to be a few twists and turns, yeah.
As you say, the focus firmly inside the club, you get that sense speaking to you today, is on these next 12 games. But you touched on it there again about the underlying path that this club is on, that you've obviously shaped in your position. The investment in young players, or the belief in young players, try and being astute with your recruitment, that philosophy, that buy-in on and off the pitch. So as you have done probably every season you've been here, I know that you get to the end of the season and you go away and you have a debrief with the key people. When you do that this summer, despite, as you say, quite openly admitting that the mistakes have been made in certain areas, do you still think or are you still convinced that the path that you've set this club on is the right path, and you just need to continue down that track?
100%. Because if you look at where we are to 3 years ago, we've got a younger average age squad. We've got incredible asset value on the pitch. We've got 3 players who are playing England under 21 football regular. That's not easy to achieve for any club, let alone Norwich City. We've got basically a new training ground. The stadium's looking great, and fair play to Ben and the team up there. The stadium's looking miles better than what it was in terms of new dressing rooms and the perimeter boarding and all that sort of stuff. I look at fan engagement, where it's gone in 3 years, and the relationships we now have in general with the supporters is brilliant. I look at the academy productivity. We've produced more academy minutes in the last 3 years than we had in the previous 15. So our recruitment policies. I think again the recruitment team have proven that we can pluck, whether it's a Tim Krul who could end up getting a Dutch call-up for nothing, through to an Emi Buendia for 1.5 million, who, you know, proven that he can be a Premier League player. So I think there's so many things going right and that we've done right. I think we have to stay on that path, is my first opinion. And don't get me wrong, people above me in the club might disagree and get rid of me. But in terms of, if my beliefs is, we have to continue on this path and we have to keep getting better at it, because I think we've proven that it can work. I look at it now and go, let's say in the summer, whatever position, whatever league we're in is irrelevant, we sell a player for 50 million. Previously, when we sold James Maddison, we didn't see a penny of that. That went into that black hole. And that summer we sold him, and we sold Josh Murphy, and we sold Marley Watkins, over £30 million worth of money. And to be honest, we were able to buy a couple of players with that. This time, if we got 50 million, we're not going to spend 50 million on players, because that doesn't really fit our model, let's be honest. You know, it'd be like plopping a brand new Ferrari in the Vauxhall showroom or something like that. It's like we try and make our own Ferraris, but what we'll be able to do is develop even more on the training ground, do even more with young players, develop the staff even more, have money in the bank for future transfer windows, so that, you know, if we're going to work as a self-funding club, and that's what we are, we have to be constantly thinking about how do we generate income for ourselves. And in some cases it might be through players, not generating income where, oh, it's going to fill a black hole because we overspent 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. It's like, you know, it's like having in your normal life, you know, working, you got your mortgage and stuff like that, and it's like getting paid a bonus and going, that's actually to clear a credit card, which I went and blew on a holiday 3 years ago, which was a waste of time. It's like, now it'd be like, okay, we get a bonus, brilliant. Well, we can build an extension, or we can, you know, get a new car or whatever, you know, and it'll be the same for us, you know. And I think that makes it, in my opinion, exciting. It definitely makes this model more sustainable, because it's suddenly we're cash generating. And then if you look at what we're trying to achieve, is we're trying to then bring through the next as well. So it's not just, oh, we've had one set of young players, brilliant, that worked, because you can get lucky, you can get a fluky group or whatever. It's like the constant obsession about who's the next one. You know, Josh Martin's now training with the first team. Everyone's seen Adam Idah make his Premier League debut this year. You know, we've signed a Sam McCallum, a Melvin City or whatever. And who knows if any of these will end up being able to replicate what Max and Jamal and Toddy and Ben have done so far. But the fact of the matter is, that's a clear plan and philosophy for us. That's what we want to try and do. Now, if the product's not right, so if we don't give Daniel a good enough young player to do that, well, he's not, he said before, he doesn't give out gifts, and nor should he, because then the level of the team comes down, and that's what we don't want. But I think overall, I think the path going forward is exciting from the business point of view, and the club growth, which is the most important thing in my opinion, in terms of this Norwich City being a healthy, vibrant, forward-moving club, is definitely good. Does that help ease the pain of short-term being 20th league? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, you lose sleep, you're miserable, you feel like you let people down. There's nothing worse than being in our situation, trust me, even when on the flip side you know that we're in a really healthy place. But the fact is, we've run it to make sure that we are in a healthy place, that we can avoid what we've been through, which is, oh, catastrophic relegation. What we're going to do now? We've got an old squad. We've got the wages are too high. You know, what do we do? Or, oh my God, we stayed up by the skin of our teeth. We need major investment to try and stay there. We haven't got that. Oh, well, we go down the next year, you know, because we're just too old or not good enough. I think we're trying to make sure we get out of that cycle, and you know, our aim is to become established in the Premier League at some point. And I believe, as in our model, the only way is constantly developing younger from within, and having a way of playing and having a culture, and eventually you can be good enough to stick in there. If I look at clubs in the last few years, I think Jurgen Klopp talked about Mainz. You know, Mainz is a story of up, down, bang, stuck. You know, Burnley, you know, done it a completely different way, but you know, you look at them, they went up, they come down. It wasn't panic stations. It wasn't like, oh my God, the world's ended here. It was, that's all right. We're going to build. Whereas, you know, we could have taken the route of blowing our brains financially, potentially still getting relegated. Because I mean, take Aston Villa. You know, that what are they 5-6 points ahead of us, and you know what happens to them if they get relegated. You know, whereas for us, we've given ourselves a chance of staying up. Yes, it's a small chance, and it's going to be difficult. But at the same time, if the worst happens, it doesn't mean our club crumbles. And I think for this community, under this model of ownership, that's actually the most important thing. And we, as hard as it is, we have to protect that, and not protect our own egos and go and do things just to try and stay there, just to try and help ourselves feel better. We've got to do what's right for the club constantly.
And key to what you've mapped out there in that answer is the fans. And you touched on the engagement, and you feel it's a lot better, well, probably transformed from when you first arrived at the club. you only have to go back to last Saturday, final whistle, the ovation that crowd gave Daniel and those players for their efforts in that game, obviously against probably one of the best teams ever, but maybe over the whole season. How important is that moving forward, and where do you think that relationship is at the minute between the fan base and the club?
Listen, I think it's overall it's very good. I think you'll always have the minority, but let's talk about the majority. I think the majority can see what we're trying to do. I think the majority appreciate that we speak honestly. You know, whether that's Daniel in the media updating about a situation or an injury and stuff like that. We don't try and pull the wool over our own supporters' eyes. You know, whether it's the owners being at a supporters group, they talk honestly, and I think the supporters appreciate that. I think they appreciate they've got a group of players who literally don't leave anything behind. You know, they work so hard. We try and play a brand of football which entertains, you know, and I look at life, I'm a football fan. If I turn up and pay my money to watch my team, I'd love to see us win, absolutely. But you know what? I want to watch a team trying to play football a certain way. I want to watch a team who fight, who show that they've actually got a bit of pride in the shirt. And I want to see a team who at the final whistle, win, lose or draw, show appreciation back to me as a supporter that, you know what, you've come out on a miserable night, you've paid a lot of money, I appreciate you coming to watch me. And I think that connection which Daniel and the players have brought with the supporters on a match day is quite special, and I think gives us a unique strength and bond, but it's something that we don't take for granted, absolutely not. And also I think the supporters don't take it for granted as well, because I think they've probably supported the team over the years where maybe players do walk straight down the tunnel or the manager doesn't bother coming to acknowledge them and stuff like that. So I think both sides appreciate it, but we've all worked hard as well, you know, and fair play the supporter groups, you know, like along come Norwich and these guys, the work they do around the stadium. You know, look at like the Barclay end from now to the first time I came against Barnsley a few years ago to meet Delia and Michael, and people were laughing when Josh Murphy kicked a ball out for a throw-in when it was a shot. You know, I look at that connection now, and it's taken huge leaps and bounds, and the hard work from people like Lynette, Ben Kensel, Joe Ferrari when he was here, Dan Holker now he's here. You know, like that. It's been a lot of hard work. Zoe Callahan Bates, people who are really sort of trying to, no, let's work with the supporters. Let's try and make this a really good place to come and watch football, where supporters enjoy themselves, they feel connected to the players and the team. And we have to do that because we are a community club, and we can't say we're a community club and then close the doors constantly. If you're a community club, you've got to open the door and be a community, or, you know, say you're not a community club, say that we're a global brand and do it a different way. But I think it's grown massively, and you know, supporters at this last 12 games, we need them. You know, we need them massively. You know, it's easy, I've said it before, it's easy to get up for Ipswich at home. It's easy to get up for Liverpool at home. Of course it is, you're the best players in the world, and, you know, or Man City. It's actually when we play West Ham, when we play Southampton at home, Leicester on a Friday night, that's when we really need you. Because the players actually don't need you when it's going well. No, I'm not being rude, they don't need you at that point. They actually need you now. This is a moment where, as football fans, we need them, you know, and 9,000 going to Tottenham is a massive boost to everyone in the club, because that tells us as staff, it tells our players of, look at that, look how many people are behind you on a Wednesday night at Tottenham when the tickets aren't cheap. It's not like they've done some super duper deal. It's like, you know, pretty expensive for an FA Cup game, let's be honest, on a Wednesday night. But to take 9,000 there is incredible, and that, you know, what a confidence boost that is for our players and staff to go, right, these people are behind us, and we are so desperate to reward them. It's unbelievable desperate. You know, after every game, the players talk about it, the staff talk about how good are the fans up at Newcastle, 2,000, you know, sat up in the gods, you know, and then we are so desperate to repay them with what they want and what they deserve. And that's all I can say is people are working here so hard to try and make people's dreams come true, and, you know, we won't give up until it's impossible, and if it is impossible, we'll come back and have to do it again.
And to that end, if that's the way it pans out, the next 12 games, final question, we all know Daniel Farke was the man you earmarked to drive us forward in tandem with you and the relationship you've got, and anybody connected to this club only have to go back to the journey you took the team on and the supporters. But just where are we with Daniel? Because he did a little bit of media there back in Germany before the Liverpool game, and he, reading between the lines, he was asked about if the club were to go down, where would that leave him? And he said, no, look at my career, I've always honoured my contracts, this is the best place for me, this is where I want to be. So Daniel stating his position, just from your position, from the club's position, where would we be if that scenario played out in the summer with Daniel in his future?
If we got relegated? Yeah, listen, in terms of Daniel, you know, he's a loyal man, you know, he's never broken a contract yet, and we wouldn't expect that. But also we have to be realistic. You know, Daniel's proven in his time before Norwich. That's why we went to try and get him. And since he's been at Norwich, that he's an outstanding coach, outstanding person. You know, you look at tactically what it was. You know, I got laughed at on the first press conference when I said I believe we've got the best coach in the league. You know, people laughed at that comment. I wasn't joking. It wasn't a flippant comment. I truly believed it. And Daniel will go and manage and be a head coach in the Champions League. Absolutely, that day is going to dawn on us at some point. And if that comes before the end of his contract, as we always do, we'll have an honest conversation about it. But one thing I know with Daniel and the club know with Daniel is he is loyal, and he's not a guy who's going to go looking for upper opportunities. It's very hard if an opportunity comes to him. You know, if Bayern Munich ring up him or Dortmund or whoever and say, listen, we want you to become our head coach, it's very hard then. Similar, like I said before, about a player, if Man United ring, it's Man United, you know, you have to listen to that phone call, unfortunately. You know, whether people like that or not, you have to. But, you know, we're unbelievably fortunate and grateful that Daniel's here. You know, the job he's done for this club over, you know, what is almost 3 years now, which is incredible how quick that's gone. But, you know, where he's taken this club from to where it is now, on all of them aspects we've spoken about, youth development only works if he gives opportunities. Smart recruitment decisions only works if he gives final, yes, I'll bring that player, and then work and develop that player, because these players didn't all come in as a final product. Look at Tim Krul. Tim's first few games were difficult for him. We all know coaches and managers who would have chucked him in the bin at that point, but Daniel supported him. So Tim doesn't work unless he gets that full support. Supporter engagement and that stuff, that does not work unless the guy at the top leading that group of players reminds the players and himself, and then leads by example on how important it is to do that. You know, the culture of the club doesn't work if he doesn't lead and do that. It doesn't work. So the job he's done for this club is incredible. And I said it after, before we got promoted last year when he signed a new deal. This club, me personally, and I'm sure Delia and Michael won't mind me saying it, them as well, will always be indebted to him, whatever happens. And if the day comes where he leaves, which I'm sure it might happen one day, you know, it'll be with people's blessing and with people's, what a job you did for this club, and you need to be remembered in history for that. Do I think it'll be in the short term? No, because I think he believes there's lots of unfinished business to do in the short term this season, and in the medium term. And like I say, he's loyal, you know, and that's why he gets so much backing from us as a club and from me personally. That's why we get so much backing from him, you know, in terms of both personally as a club, is because, you know, there's a real loyalty towards each other. There's a real plan for each other. And I think genuinely he loves the job he's doing. He loves the club. He loves the opportunity that it's given him. We love probably more what he's done for us. But, you know, I think sometimes it's like a beautiful marriage. Sometimes it works and it's all right that everyone wins out of it and everyone's sort of happy out of it. And I think at the moment we're in a beautiful marriage, and hopefully divorce will never come. But if it does, it'll be very amicable, and, you know, we can still see the kids.